Part 55. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 546. What's going on? The prison guards are here. What's going to happen again? Gucci and Fatty, like other inmates, watched the 5 prison guards who suddenly appeared. No one dared to approach them. They just watched from a distance, each thinking about the intentions of the prison guards' appearance. The 5 prison guards ignored the nearby inmates. The leading inmate glanced back and forth twice. When he saw a beautiful figure in front of the beverage shop, there was a slight reaction on his face. 5 prison guards walked towards the man at the same time. The fat man looked in the direction the prison guard was walking and looked surprised. "Boss, isn't that the boss's friend?" Gucci turned his head and looked. Among the crowd, there are always some people who are born to shine. Shan Yu looked calm. She was sitting on a silver-style chair, facing the 5 prison guards. She was even in the mood to hold the straw in her mouth and take a sip of the juice she had just received. What a coincidence, we met again in the same dungeon. It was rare to meet someone he knew, and the fat man said in an unexpected tone. "Boss, it seems that the single star is going to be taken away by the prison guards. Will she be in any danger?" Gucci withdrew his gaze and said with a cold expression, "Are you very free?" Ah, the fat man was confused and couldn't react. "Why should we pay attention to an irrelevant person?" Gucci said coldly. The fat man was speechless. Really? If Sutingyu hadn't been there, they wouldn't have known the famous and heartthrob star. Maybe my worries are unnecessary? Maybe Shan Yu can solve it independently? Then boss, let's leave now, the fat man asked tentatively. At this time, the prison guard's voice came intermittently. "Miss Shan, the warden invites you." Gu, who was about to leave, paused and turned his head to look in Shan Yu's direction again. Shan Yu pondered for a moment and seemed to nod in agreement. Then, Shan Yu followed the prison guard and left the place. "Follow me." Upon seeing this, Gucci's eyes darkened slightly. He only said 2 words to the fat man, and then followed Shan Yu in the direction he left. "Ah, why again?" The confused fat man was a little confused as to why Gucci suddenly changed his mind, but he followed him immediately. Shan Yu was taken to another area by prison guards. This is not like a living and working area for prisoners, but more like a big hotel where some upper-class people live. "We're here, Miss Shan. This is right here. You can just go in." The prison guard pointed to a door in front of him. "Okay," Shan Yu responded. "Now that we are here, the worries along the way can only be temporarily left behind." As soon as Shan Yu walked to the edge of the door opened automatically. Shan Yu was startled for a moment, then walked in. Seeing the door close with their own eyes, the prison guards outside the door breathed a sigh of relief. This woman has fewer things to do. She comes as soon as she is called. Perhaps I wanted to seduce the warden. When the opportunity came, I agreed without saying a word. Guess how long this Miss Shan can last? 3 days, right? It's a bit shorter, it should last 7 days. At this time, inside the room, Shan Yu entered the room and glanced slightly. It had been carefully decorated, with flowers and lanterns, perfumes, music, fine wines, and delicacies, creating an extremely romantic atmosphere. Shan Yu's eyes were not touched much, but more ordinary. Beside a table, a well-dressed man was opening a bottle of wine. When he saw Shan Yu coming, he smiled like a spring breeze. "Miss Shan, Zhang is honored to invite you to our party." Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 547. The warden's eyes remained calmly on Shan Yu Jiao's beautiful body curve for several seconds. Sure enough, not inferior to the other woman. The warden was inevitably a little proud. Dr. Gu came to see people again and again, and the warden couldn't help but look down on him. Therefore, he kept a good product on the surface and secretly kept a good product for himself to enjoy. Shouldn't Your Excellency, the warden, have everything to do with your day? Is there something wrong with you suddenly inviting me here this time? Shan Yu was secretly vigilant in his heart. People who had been taken away before were all taken away by robots during the day. And now, why is it her turn, that the prison guard comes in person? The warden smiled warmly and kindly. It's nothing, I just want to invite a beauty like Miss Shan to have a meal with me. Shan Yu hesitated on his face, but I have already had dinner and may disturb your enjoyment. If the warden has nothing to do, I will go back first. As soon as he finished speaking, Shan Yu was about to turn around and leave. Miss Shan, the warden's voice, which originally contained a hint of joy and politeness, gradually turned cold. The warden raised his hand and raised the glass of wine he had just poured into it. You're here, why don't you have a drink first? Are you not giving me face? Shan Yu, who turned half sideways, his face darkened slightly for a moment. When he turned his head again, there was no trace of disgust or worry at all. Your Excellency the warden, I must give you your face. As he said that, Shan Yu took the initiative to take a few steps closer and reached out to take the wine glass. Seeing this, the warden's expression changed from gloomy to clear, and he laughed heartily. Very good, Miss Shan, I'll toast you first. Good. Shan Yu replied with a smile on his face. But the fingers holding the wine glass in his hand were slightly tight. This is really a hangmen banquet, and this wine, I don't know if there will be any problems. For a while, Shan Yu was riding a tiger that was hard to get off. But the warden drank the wine first, and Shan Yu could only let his lips get slightly wet with the wine. Miss Shan, we still have a lot of time. How about we sit down and chat slowly? The warden pulled out a chair in front of the dining table like a gentleman and motioned to Shan Yu to come and sit down. Okay. Shan Yu's smile remained unchanged, with a bright and cold light shining in his eyes. You are an ugly piece of trash, how dare you miss me, right? At this point, if Shan Yu didn't know what the warden was up to, he would be sorry for his extremely clever head. Now that he knew the other party's intentions, Shan Yu no longer felt how passive he was. Want to hum me? Okay, it depends on whether you can afford this ugly piece of shit. The warden didn't know what he thought of the easy prey, and he wasn't in a hurry at this time. The night is long. Since this woman is sensible, he should be generous and show some pity to her. Just as the warden fell into delusion, the closed door was suddenly opened. There were footsteps coming from the door. Didn't you tell me not to disturb me tonight if you have nothing to do? Someone came, and most of the good atmosphere was instantly destroyed. The warden looked annoyed and looked towards the door. But when he saw that the people coming were not his subordinates, but two men with unfamiliar faces, the expression on the warden's face condensed. Who are you? Somebody come. But no matter how the warden roared, there was no movement outside the door. There is an invisible jammer on the door. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 548. Fen Nanbei, guard the door. Gucci glanced at the two people in front of him who were a little stunned, and spoke quietly. Okay. Boss. The fat man closed the door, and then stood with his fat body at the door. Most of the door panels were blocked from view. The warden soon realized something was wrong and wanted to activate the robot hidden in the room. Come out. 088. 098. Come out quickly. But as the warden shouted, there was no movement at all in the room. What's going on? Come out quickly. 092. 094. 099. Gucci took a few steps forward and gradually approached the warden, looking like he was not a friendly person. Without the help of the robot and the high-tech of the entire room, the warden is like a tiger that has had its claws pulled out. It seems that it is still fierce, but in fact it is no longer fearful. After a few glances, he subdued the warden. In order to reduce the difficulty of hypnosis, even if he was subdued, Gucci would beat him again to lower the warden's state. After seeing the warden being controlled by Gucci, the fat man ran towards Shan Yu. "Miss Shan Yu, are you okay?" Shan Yu shook his head slightly. "It's okay." "You, and him, why are you here?" Not to mention the fate of entering the same round of dungeons again, the fact that these two people are here now is obviously premeditated and not an accidental intrusion. The fat man explained, "When you were taken away by the prison guards in public, my boss and I were watching from a short distance away." "So, why did you come?" It turned out that he was seen at that time, no wonder. "For the warden, this is what my boss just said." The fat man scratched his head and said. At the mention of the warden, Shan Yu quickly turned to look in Gucci's direction. At this time, Gucci turned his back to the two of them, used his professional talent on the warden, and asked some questions about the prison. Although he couldn't see how Gucci used his professional talents, when Gucci asked, the warden's voice clearly conveyed his answer, which made Shan Yu faintly surprised. "How did he do that?" "My boss is very powerful. There is nothing that the boss can't do." As if he understood Shan Yu's thoughts, the fat man directly transformed into Gucci, with an attitude of being proud of him. Shan Yu blinked lightly. "Oh, it's very amazing." After knowing that Shan Yu was fine, Fatty wandered around and looked around. "Boss, what should we do with this person? Or is it a fuzzy memory?" The fat man scratched his head and muttered, "But if it's a fuzzy memory, wouldn't it be better to also erase the memory of the single star's appearance?" "But the prison guard asked him earlier when I was still alive. I had already been seen by so many prison guards." Gucci waited for the fat man to finish speaking, then said, "Then kill him." "Ah. This is the warden. Even if he has little contact with the prisoners, he may have to report to other prison guards or staff every day." "Wait." The fat man seemed to suddenly remember something. His eyes lit up. He quickly took out an item from the inventory and began to explain, "This is the disguise potion that the boss gave me before. I still have some left. 3 bottles. Disguise potion? Can you pretend to be the warden?" Gucci glanced at the fat man. "Fatty, as expected of the boss. You can guess it at a glance." Gucci took a bottle of disguise potion and checked its function. There are only 3 bottles, which is not enough. However, this is also a way. Let's keep the person first. I also want to use this to familiarize myself with the specific layout of the island prison. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 549. Fatty once again missed Sutingyu extremely. It would be great if we could find the boss. She should have more disguise potions there. These 3 bottles of disguise potions were given to Fatty by Sutingyu before entering the dungeon, in order to improve Fatty's survival rate in the dungeon. Gucci glanced at the fat man and asked, "Feng Nanbei, you want to play the warden?" "Ah. I can't." Upon hearing this, the fat man shook his head and waved his hands. Gucci frowned. "What are you afraid of?" "Ahem, mainly because I can't play the temperament of a warden." The fat man scratched his head, blinked his eyes and suggested, "Boss, how about you come?" Hearing this, Gucci glanced at the fat man with disgust, but the latter didn't take it seriously and kept smiling. Gucci said, "The effect of the disguise potion is too short. The 3 bottles can only be used for 3 hours in total, and there are still 5 days of dungeon time, which is definitely not enough." The conversation between Gucci and Fatty did not avoid Shan Yu, and it was not a shameful matter. Shan Yu saw it and her eyes fell on the unconscious warden on the ground. After 2 seconds, she looked away, stood up from the chair, and walked towards the two of them. I have a prop that is similar to disguise. Do you need it? Shan Yu tilted his head slightly, glanced at the fat man, and then landed on Gucci. Shan Yu knew very well that among the two, Gucci was the one who made the decision. What prop? Miss Shan Yu, you. Seeing that the two of them were interested, Shan Yu introduced the use of the prop. It's a clay sculpture of a human face. I got it in a lottery. If you stick the clay sculpture of a human face on any person's face for more than 10 seconds, you can turn it into a clay sculpture. A person's face is copied, and as long as the clay sculpture of the face is not destroyed, it can be used forever, but it can only be copied once, and other faces cannot be copied. Shan Yu spoke for a moment, then raised his right wrist helplessly, showing the bracelet to the two of them, but I haven't found my mission target yet, and the inventory can't be used yet. Ah. Then, where can we find out your mission target in this moment and a half? May I ask, who is your mission target? The fat man suddenly felt disappointed, and his face gradually became nervous. Stand up. You know, they didn't team up with Shan Yu for carpooling. If Shan Yu's mission target was one of them. Shan Yu could see Fatty's thoughts at a glance. With a slight smile on his face, my mission target is a strange player named The Song Is Not Over but the people are not gone, not you. Ahem. The fat man suddenly felt embarrassed. Gucci glanced at the warden and seemed to have thought of something. He turned to stare at Shan Yu. You wanted to attack the warden from the beginning? Get the method to open the bracelet from him. Shan Yu kept smiling. I don't know why he came to me. Tisk. Gucci's eyes were indifferent. In other words, even if they don't come, this woman will probably take off her bracelet, then control the warden, then replace her, and finally use her identity as the warden to get out of the prison? Or maybe they arrived at the wrong time and ruined Shan Yu's original plan. At this time, Shan Yu took the initiative to expose the human face clay sculpture props in order to make corrections and get the plan back on track so that it could proceed smoothly according to her vision. Anyway, thank you, Shan Yu said with gratitude. The simple fat man really believed it, and waved his hand in a very embarrassed manner. No need to thank you. But Gucci heard it. This woman thought they were hindering her plan. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 550. You're welcome, I wasn't here for you in the first place, Gucci said expressionlessly. Hearing this, Shan Yu's smile faded. The fat man scratched his head. It's not a good idea for the boss to say that, right? After all, I am chatting with girls. But when the fat man recalled that his boss never seemed to like girls, he suddenly felt that it was normal again. If one day the boss suddenly becomes interested in a girl, it will be a miracle. But will the boss like a girl? Anyway, Fatty couldn't imagine that scene at all. Time is running out. Let's find a way to release the control of the bracelet from the warden first. If he had a choice, Shan Yu didn't want to see Gucci, a man with no gentlemanly demeanor at all. Yes, yes, the fat man echoed. Gucci, seal the north and south. Understood. Boss, the fat man skillfully took out the cauldron and hit the warden on the head with precision. Boom. Shan Yu slightly opened her beautiful eyes. The warden woke up with a look of pain on his face, and was immediately hypnotized by Gucci. How to remove the prisoner's bracelet. The warden's eyes were dull. I need, according instructions, to mobilize the robot responsible for loading and unloading the bracelets. The specific operation method, Gucci asked again. Immediately afterwards, the warden spoke without reservation. After confirming that nothing was missing, before Gucci could speak to remind him, the fat man, who had been waiting for a long time, noticed that Gucci had stopped asking questions, and smashed another big pot down, knocking the warden unconscious. Boss, do you want to tie him up? The fat man suggested. Gucci put on his sunglasses and said, yeah. After receiving the consent, the fat man took back the cauldron and took out a rope and 2 pieces of black cloth. The rope is used to tie the person, and there are 2 pieces of black cloth, one covering the eyes and the other covering the mouth. After doing this, the fat man asked, "Boss, that's it? Do you need to take off the jammer now?" Due to the effect of the jammer, all hidden robots in the room are now in sleep standby. Don't worry, you first find a hidden place to hide and hide the person. Gucci drank a bottle of disguise potion, and his entire face suddenly turned into that of a warden. Oh, the fat man dragged the warden to look left and right, and then chose to hide in the bedroom inside. He turned on another jammer inside and adjusted the range to this small bedroom. "Boss, I'm ready." After the fat man hid, Gucci took off the original jammer. Suddenly, all the secret machines in the room except the bedroom began to operate. Following the method provided by the warden, Gucci pretended to be the warden and operated the machine in the room, took off Shan Yu's bracelet, and notified the machine in the room to issue the command. "The prisoner D909 has been taken away by me and his prison information has been cleared." The disc robot found out Gucci's personal information and then cleared all his identity information. In this way, there is one less inconspicuous inmate in the prison. A saucer-shaped robot flew out of the wall. The robot looked at Gucci's current face. A blue light emitted from the machine's eyes and fell on Shan Yu's bracelet. "The command has been received and is being executed. The command has been completed." The machine responsible for storing the bracelet on the wall came out, and the mechanical arm stretched out to help Shan Yu remove the bracelet. Without the restriction of the bracelet, Shan Yu took out the human face clay sculpture prop. She said nothing and just looked at Gucci. Gucci continued to issue instructions: release the positioning function of the bracelet she is wearing and open all permissions of the bracelet. The order has been received and is being executed. The order has been completed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 551. After doing all this, Shan Yu put on the bracelet again, and Gucci turned off all the machines and installed the shield again. Seal Nanbei. Gucci spoke in the direction of the bedroom. A few seconds later, the fat man walked out of the bedroom. "Boss, I put the person inside, so I'll leave first." The fat man still had to go out and return to his cell. The fat man has a good memory and is not a roadie. He still remembers the way he came, so Gucci is not afraid of any accidents happening to the former. After the fat man left, Shan Yu tried wearing the bracelet to take out the props in the inventory, but failed. "It seems that you have to complete your personal mission." Shan Yu glanced at Gucci. She just saw that the fat man wearing the bracelet could directly take out the props. "Have you all completed your personal mission?" Gucci glanced at her and nodded. "That's it?" Shan Yu found a place to sit down and kept standing. She felt a little tired. "Then where are the people before the song ends? Can't you operate the machine now? Can you find someone?" Gucci's heart moved, looking for someone. In this round of dungeons, the players' dungeon names are all their original names. This can now be used to find Sutingyu and Qin Lin. "You don't even know the name of your mission target, how can you find it?" Gucci asked. Shan Yu covered his lips with his hands and couldn't help but yawned. "What you said is right." Gradually, Shan Yu's eyelids began to twitch up and down. Gucci noticed something was wrong with Shan Yu. He just took a few steps forward, but suddenly stopped 2 meters away. "You..." Gucci started. "It's probably the toast from that ugly trash just now." Shan Yu shook his increasingly confused head and stood up from the chair, his figure swaying. "Wine." Gucci turned his head and glanced at the opened wine bottles on the table, his expression unpredictable. Shan Yu moved to the edge of the sofa and fell down, unable to hold on. "Hey, I'll squint for a while," just for a while. Hearing this, Gucci snorted coldly. Just as he was about to say something, he saw that Shan Yu had completely fallen into a coma, and there was still the sound of shallow breathing. Gucci stared at the woman's sleeping face, and after probably several seconds, he slowly said, "That's it, you still want to plot against someone else." The wine was drugged, and Gucci didn't know how long the drug would last, so he picked up the bottle of wine on the dining table and walked straight into the bedroom. On the floor, the unconscious warden was still lying. Gucci first made the person half awake, and then hypnotized him. What drug was in this wine? A kind of drug that can make the antidote. Gucci didn't want to listen to what was said behind him and asked directly for the antidote. The freshly brewed Junction tea is the antidote. Gucci's expression paused slightly. There was a coffee table next to the sofa where the woman slept, and there happened to be a pot of tea on it. On the coffee table? Yes. After asking the question, Gucci handed the whole bottle of wine to the warden. "Drink." The warden simply drank the entire bottle of wine. Gucci asked again, "How long will this bottle of wine last?" "Yes, it has been 3.5 days. I drank half a pot of tea before, which has neutralized half of the effects of the medicine." Within a minute, the effects of the drug took effect and the warden passed out. The empty wine bottle fell from the warden's hand, rolled around on the ground, and stopped at Gucci's feet. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 552. Copy time, 22:30. At the end of their free time, Sutingyu and Qin-Chi found no one, so they could only separate temporarily and return to their cells. When the bracelet was taken away, Sutingyu secretly paid attention to the reaction of the nearby robot. After seeing that nothing happened, Sutingyu breathed a sigh of relief. Back in the cell, Sutingyu, who was sitting on the bed, faced the cell door with her back in order not to irritate her eyes, because the gorilla opposite began to take a passionate bath again. All men are like this, but women. Perhaps female players who have just entered prison can't stand it, but the same cannot be said for those female inmates who have been in prison all year round. They have long lost any sense of shame. Next, we have to continue looking for Fatty and Guju. By the way, my mission target has failed. Is the player who wants to kill me still there? We have to guard against this. When they find Fatty and the others, they should prepare to escape from prison together. The best time may be within an hour of free entertainment. But as a newcomer to the prison, I understand this possibility. It's impossible that the prison administrator and other veteran inmates don't understand. Monitoring the machine all the time is also very annoying, although there are some blind spots. Sutingyu muttered in his heart for a long time. When the bathing time was over, the lights in the entire cell area were turned off, and they were suddenly plunged into darkness. Sutingyu blinked his big eyes at the dark ceiling. "Well, it's time to go to bed. I hope we can find Gucci and Fatty tomorrow." Gucci came out of the bedroom. "I asked about the antidote and found out that the drug only caused people to fall into coma and had no other side effects. Drinking tea to relieve hangover?" Gucci looked at Shan Yu, who was completely unconscious at this time. He couldn't even open his eyes, let alone drink tea. Without any entanglement, Gucci no longer cares about Shan Yu. "Just sleep. I just drank a little wine, and once the effects of the medicine wore off, I woke up naturally. As for the kind-hearted idea of feeding the tea myself, it's absolutely impossible." Now that they were in the same room together, Gucci thought that he was already very kind if he didn't kick him out. Gucci picked up Shan Yu's clay sculpture of a human face that had fallen on the floor, used the panel to check how to use it, and then turned back to the bedroom. When he came out again, the clay sculpture of a human face in Gucci's hand had turned into the face of a warden. Gucci took out a pack of wet wipes from his inventory and carefully wiped the mask that had been touched by the warden's face. Wiping it once was not enough, So Gucci frowned and took out a disinfectant wipe and wiped it again, and finally wiped it with an ordinary wet wipe. After a trace of water stains on the surface of the mask had dried normally, Gucci put on the mask. The mask is as thin as a cicada and sticks tightly to the skin. From the outside, there is no trace of wearing a mask at all. Gucci's figure is almost the same as that of the warden, but the clothes on his body need to be replaced by a set of warden's clothes after the effect of the disguise potion ends. Gucci adjusted the shielding range of the jammer, blocking only the bedroom where the warden was. Then, the robot was called out to take care of the table. Gucci pushed away a chair, leaned against the back of the chair, crossed his legs, and placed them on the dining table. "Get 2 quilts," Gucci shouted softly. As soon as he finished speaking, a mechanical arm stretched out from the wall holding 2 unused thin quilts. "1 piece," Gucci takes it away. A mechanical arm covered Shan Yu's body. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 553. Copy on the 3rd day. Morning, 6 o'clock. Shan Yu faintly woke up from her sleep. She stood up with her hands on the sofa, and the quilt covering her body fell with her movement. Shan Yu glanced at the quilt, then looked down at his clothes, intact. Shan Yu turned his head and saw Gucci sitting at the table not far away eating breakfast. "Are you eating breakfast alone? Are you eating alone? You didn't call me." Shan Yu's beautiful eyes widened slightly. She walked over and found a seat opposite Gucci and sat down. "Are you sure I can wake you up?" Gucci asked with a calm expression. I just licked it." "Can the effect of this drug last so long?" Shan Yu picked up a piece of bread and took a bite, his cheeks twitching slightly. After Gucci finished the last bite of bread, he took out a wet tissue and wiped the corners of his mouth. "Oh, why else?" In the end, the effect of the medicine was gone, but the person also fell asleep. Shan Yu narrowed her eyes slightly. "What do you want to say?" She always felt that the surname Gu meant something to her. "It's really stupid." Gucci didn't bother to explain anymore, it seemed like he was just as stupid. "Eat quickly and find someone after you finish." Both of them tacitly agreed not to mention the temporary team formation, and both acquiesced. A single feather doesn't matter. As for Gucci, in the last round of dungeons, at least this woman didn't hold anything back, and she was someone Sutingyu met in real life, so she treated it as a favor to Sutingyu. With the identity of the prison warden, Gucci quickly found out the prison personal information of Sutingyu and Qinchi. "Now, just wait to find someone to join you." Shan Yu took a few more bites of bread, then turned around and looked around. "By the way, where is the warden? The fat man just knocked once last night. It has been so long, so he should have woken up. But now there is no movement. Could it be that he was knocked unconscious again? I drank a bottle of wine in the bedroom, and I won't wake up again within 3 days," Gucci said. "1 bottle?" After Shan Yu was slightly surprised, a smile appeared on his face. "Not bad, then he can't hinder our escape. Hey, after all, I contributed a clay sculpture of a human face. You must take me with you when you escape from prison. And you can't ask for my reward this time, right?" Gucci glanced at her. "If you want to pay me, that's not impossible." "Pretend I didn't say it." Shan Yu finished the bread in a few bites, then picked up the milk next to him and drank. "Why doesn't it feel like prison food?" Gucci said lightly, "I prepared the supplies for them all." "Why not use prison food?" Shan Yu looked at the half-drunk milk and hesitated whether to finish it. Originally, Shan Yu thought it was prison food, so he used it without any scruples. Who knew he was scrupulous? Prison food. Gucci seemed to have heard something funny. He smiled slowly, with a bit of carelessness and evil. "Do you think human corpses are used to make feed and fertilizer, and then used to feed livestock and water crops? Finally, the food made from these agricultural and animal husbandry products is delicious. This. Shan Yu opened her beautiful eyes in shock. I just found some information using my identity as the warden. Gucci said frankly, all the inmates in this prison are experimental subjects with healthy bodies and can support the intensity of work for more than 10 hours a day. They will be taken away for experiments in biotechnology. Inmates who are in poor physical condition and cannot support themselves during the journey are thrown into processing plants, where they are processed into feed and fertilizer and transported to pastures and farms. Shan Yu blinked her beautiful eyes, unable to digest the news. Thinking of the food she had eaten in the past 2 days, even if the replica body was not her real body, she couldn't help but want to vomit. No wonder. The prison will entertain a group of inmates with delicious food and drinks. From time to time, a few prisoners were taken away and never came back. The prisoners who collapsed at work also disappeared. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 554. In a lobby. Sutingyu came to have breakfast as usual. But before she could eat much, 2 robots walked out of the newly opened passage. Without any hesitation, they arrived in front of Sutingyu very accurately. R444, come with us. The robot's electronic voice sounded without any fluctuation. Sutingyu's expression was stunned. Who are you calling? 444, sounds familiar. Oh, it seems to be her number. Me, Sutingyu pointed at herself to confirm again. Identified, R444. Sutingyu could only stand up. Tisk, tisk, unlucky guy. It's really unlucky to sit at the same table with this little girl. I almost scared the shit out of me. Listening to the rustling noises, Sutingyu blinked her big eyes innocently and looked at the robot. Handsome sir, they are so noisy even during breakfast, will it affect the order of the prison? As soon as these words came out, a current wave flashed in the black crystal membrane on the robot's face, as if it was analyzing and thinking about Sutingyu's words. A few seconds later, the robot announced, no noise during mealtime. As soon as this order came out, all the noise in the audience was instantly eliminated. Sutingyu chuckled, shook his head proudly, and followed the robot with his head held high under the resentful eyes of all the prisoners. Entering the passage, the door leading to the lobby closed in an instant. The expression on Sutingyu's face gradually calmed down. He was suddenly taken away without warning, and the prisoners who were taken away previously had not heard anything yet, so it was impossible not to have any ideas. Sutingyu glanced down at the bracelet on her wrist. If something really goes wrong, the only option is to go to jail. 2 adults, where are we going? On the way, Sutingyu tried to get words out of the robot's mouth. But no matter how much Sutingyu tried, the robot didn't respond at all and just led the way. It seems that the technology in this prison is not particularly advanced and terrifying. At least in terms of artificial intelligence, it is just a program that executes the input program tasks and does not produce intelligent creatures with the same intelligence as human beings. Sutingyu secretly thought in his heart. Guess. Along the way, Sutingyu was constantly observing the surrounding environment, but with a mediocre sense of direction, she could only roughly feel that she had entered a new area. When Sutingyu came out of the passage again, the layout of the surrounding buildings was no longer the cold prison style, but more like he had strayed into some kind of leisure resort. Go in. When it came to a room door, the robot spoke. Sutingyu blinked her big eyes and took a few tentative steps forward. The door opened automatically as it sensed the arrival. On the left and right sides, 2 robots stood quietly. Seeing this, Sutingyu could only go in. When Sutingyu entered, the door behind him immediately closed. Boss. A familiar and cheerful voice came from the hall of the room. Looking towards the source of the sound, Sotingyu opened her eyes slightly and was a little surprised. Fat man. Sotingyu walked over. The fat man looked delighted. Not only that, Sotingyu also saw Shan Yu, who had been away for many days. Hi Susu, long time no see, Shan Yu said with a smile on his face. What's going on? Sotingyu was a little confused. This seemed to be somewhat different from what he had imagined. Coming. A tall man with an unfamiliar face walked out of the bathroom, wearing sunglasses. He was not too surprised to see Sotingyu. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 555. 10 minutes later. I see. Sotingyu suddenly realized. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Sotingyu circled around Gucci, who had just changed his clothes. Don't tell me, they look quite similar. Just now, Sotingyu had the honor to go to the bedroom to meet the majestic warden of Sci-Fi Island prison. But, Guju, you should take off your sunglasses. Sotingyu sat back down in her seat, and sitting next to her was Qinchi, who had just arrived 5 minutes ago. Hearing this, Gucci's expression paused slightly. He slowly raised his hand, took off his sunglasses, and put them away in the inventory. Everyone present, including Fatty, could really see Gucci's whole face for the first time. Gucci has a pair of beautiful cat eyes as deep and silent as the night, like a cold and proud noble cat, with a mysterious light. When these eyes look at a person, they always have a careless look. Arrogance and disdain. Wow, Guju, your eyes are so beautiful, why do you keep hiding them? Sotingyu blinked Buling's big eyes with full appreciation. Gucci's face did not warm up at Sotingyu's praise, and he even said, I want you to take care of it. His tone was filled with the arrogance of ordinary people like you who are not worthy of me taking off my glasses. Tch, Sotingyu instantly turned into a disgusted face. Your eyes. At this time, Shan Yu slowly said, the warden doesn't have such eyes. He just wears a mask. I'm afraid he will be betrayed. Fatty, boss, don't you have a disguise potion? Doesn't it even change gender? When this was mentioned, Sotingyu became a little depressed. The disguise potion is an inventory I got from a copy. I can't refine it myself yet. It's a situation where one bottle is used and one is missing. There are still about a dozen bottles at present. Except for the night time, it should be able to last for a whole day. Sotingyu waved his hand, and there were 10 more bottles of disguise potion on the ground. There are 10 bottles here, you can use them first. Sotingyu's heart was bleeding. Actually, just bring some contact lenses. Shan Yu coughed twice and interjected, I have a complete makeup bag in my inventory. It's okay to put some makeup on this guy and change his eye color or shape. Hearing this, Sotingyu's eyes lit up. Really, then, her disguise potion wouldn't have to be used? Guju, what do you think? Shan Yu's mouth curved slightly and he looked at Gucci with evil intentions. Doesn't this guy dislike her? Still can't get closer than 2 meters? Put makeup on him. Just say it, don't take it seriously. Shan Yu's main purpose was to have fun all his life and wanted to see how Gucci would be defeated. Not very good. Gucci refused decisively. There are obviously better disguise potions, but you want to choose ordinary makeup. That's true. Although Sotingyu felt sorry for the potion, he still had to make a clear distinction about what was most important. Now Gucci is pretending to be the warden. If something goes wrong, his life may be in danger. Then I need to change to colored contact lenses, just in case. Shan Yu continued, the potion is only effective for 1 hour. Guju, can you guarantee that you can take it anytime, anywhere without attracting attention? The second bottle of potion. That's right. The fat man nodded in agreement. Guju, why don't you wear colored contact lenses? Just to be on the safe side, Sotingyu persuaded. Qinchi also looked at Gucci, silently waiting for the latter's reaction.